Hi everyone, welcome to my channel if you're new here, welcome back to my channel if you're a returning viewer or subscriber. I'm going to be talking to you about 15 books that I really want to read in 2024. I love this video, I love doing this video, I love watching this video. It's honestly one of my favourite videos in the whole booktube like category of videos you can possibly film or watch. It's my favourite. It doesn't matter if I'm subscribed to a channel, if I know who the person is, if I'm interested in what books they read, I'll be clicking on the video if they post this and it gets recommended to me. I actually started making this list in November and I've just been itching to film this video finally, and here we are. I do have a fringe. It's clipped back because it's being, you know, if you have a fringe you also understand the struggles. I also think I wore this exact jumper in last year's one of these, and I did debate changing into something else for this video, but I was like, no, let's just keep it a tradition. Also, I did quite well in my 2023 one of these. I read 10 of the 15 books that I mentioned. Don't ask me why I'm choosing 15 for these videos, I don't know, but we're back with another 15, but we just keep the trend going. I was going to set my goal for this year at like 50 books, because this year I've read 57 so far. I think that actually I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did in 2023, which is set the number of the year. So like last year mine was 23 and this year's will be 24, just because I think I actually read more if I have fewer books that I am like aiming towards. I don't know how that works, but I think it does. I also particularly don't want to put pressure on myself this year because I want to be picking up a lot of classics and a lot of long books. Long classics and just classics in general, and long books separate from them being classics. But I would definitely want to be focusing on kind of like quality over quantity, and I think I can do that through setting like a low goal for myself, because then I won't feel bad if I'm only reading like 2 books a month because one of them was like 800 pages. So that gives you a little taste about what we're going to see. I split this video up into categories based on genre, but without further ado, let's get going. So the first book I have to mention is Eve's Hollywood by Eve Babitz. Eve Babitz is absolutely so well loved. She was the it girl of the 60s and 70s, is it? I don't know. Yeah, mid 60s it says. Absolute icon. Haven't read anything of hers, and I'm told that if you enjoy Didion, then you should enjoy Babitz. Love Didion. Haven't read Babitz. It's about time I did. I've had this book on my shelf for a couple of years now and it has to happen. I'm very, very excited about it. This is basically like an autobiographical account of her like youth, but also like her peak, I guess, in Hollywood, so set in California, about the people she meets and the wild things that she gets up to. It should be a lot of fun. So that is the first book we have to mention here. A couple of kind of contemporary romance books. I thought these would be good to break up the heavier, longer classics that I should be getting through throughout the year. I've got The Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. I've never read any of this books, but I know that they're very well loved. I'm very excited to finally be picking up one of her books. This is the one that I'm most interested about. It's got the one of us famous trope. It's got like this long communication over, is it over the phone? I don't know. Long calls it says. It's got a dog in it. He's a musician. She's a nobody. I feel like it could be a fun time. I've heard amazing things about the author's writing, his stories in general, and so I'm excited about this book, and I think that placing it on this TBR will ensure that I actually pick it up, because I have the desire to, I just never get around to it because I prioritise other things, I feel like, so that will be on this year's TBR. I've read 2 Emily Henry books so far. I've read Beach Read and I've read People We Meet on Vacation, or You and Me on Vacation is the UK title. Really dislike Beach Read, absolutely loved You and Me on Vacation, so I thought that we would put another Emily Henry book on this year's TBR because I read her previous books in 2023, so I just want to keep the trend going. I'm also thinking that her 4th release, what's it called? Happy Place, will come out in paperback this year. I'm excited to pick that one up eventually because I've heard kind of mixed things about that, but I think that could be one that I like. I'm not sure. I've just bought that on Kindle actually last night, but I want to read her books in publication order, so this is the next one I have to read. I thought again I'd put it on this list because it will force me to actually pick it up. Really not sure how to feel. Like I said, I've had very different reactions to both of the books I've read by her. It's about a literary agent and a book editor. They're very different characters and yeah, I don't know, fun contemporary romance book. Emily Henry's books tend to touch on deeper themes, deeper topics as well, so might fall a little bit into the lit fic range, which is genre books that I absolutely adore. So I'm excited. I'm kind of a little bit scared, but I feel like it could be a good time if I do get on with it. We have 3 kind of YA new adult fantasy books kind of like put together. First of all is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This book is so popular. This whole series is so popular. This is the first book in a trilogy of YA fantasy books that follow on from the Caraval trilogy. I reread Caraval this year and I read Legendary. Finale was on my December TBR. I'm not going to get to it, but I definitely want to get to that one as well, but I'm thinking that's going to be like a bit of a given. So I put this first book in the continuation series on my TBR for 2024 because I've heard so many good things. People generally like Caraval, but people love this series, particularly the first and second books. The third one actually came out in November, was it? That had more mixed reviews, but even if that book sucks, like I do want to read the first and second books because I've heard such good things. Like this is like people's favourite book of all time. That's the level that people love it. Also the most beautiful cover in the world, genuinely one of my favourites ever. I'm so excited for this book. I want to know what everyone's going on about, basically. So that's on the TBR. We have An Ember in the Ashes by Tahir. This is a really old school YA fantasy book. When did this come out? 2015. I wouldn't have put this on my TBR. Yes, it's one I want to get to. I didn't have a specific date. I feel like this is one that could be sitting on my shelves for like the next 5 years if I didn't kind of set myself to read it. The other thing is that Katie is reading, along with her friend Cass, are hosting their little book club that they run. They're reading this book for January, so I'm basically using that as the excuse to finally pick it up. This is a YA fantasy, like I said. It's following Leia and Elias, and it's set in this kind of like Roman-inspired empire. It's such a beloved series. It's got the most amazing Goodreads reviews. Like, the average rating is really super duper high. I'm a bit worried because it's like 2015, it's YA, and I don't read as much YA now, and I generally, even when I do pick it up, I don't get on with it as much as I would have obviously when I was younger. I'm willing to go into this with an open mind, and I'm excited to be able to kind of like essentially buddy read it alongside some other people and then get everyone's thoughts at the end of that process. So An Ember in the Ashes. And then lastly, for YA fantasy or new adult, I'm not sure what this is, Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Also another book that I want to pick up because I've heard so many people read it across 2023 and absolutely adore it. Like, again, favorite book of all time kind of vibe. I also do want to buddy read this with someone in real life, so there's a bit of pressure from that person in order to pick it up soon. So I think this could be like a February read or something like that. So this book is a romantasy. It's the first in a trilogy. The second book comes out in 2024. It's due for release in 2024. It has the kind of competition trope, so it's a little bit similar to The Hunger Games, to the Red Queen series, both books that I really loved. So I'm excited for this. I think this could be a new favourite. I have a lot of hope. I will definitely be disappointed if I don't get on well with it, but we'll see what I do. We'll see how that experience goes. I could always do like a reading vlog for it. If anyone's interested in that, let me know. Right, getting into the longer kind of epic adult fantasy, we have The Name of the Wind by Rothfuss. This was a gift from my older brother in, he didn't write the date, but it was like 2019, so it's unacceptable I haven't read it yet. When I told him I was putting it on this 2024 TBR, he essentially like basically rolled his eyes. It's been so long. But this is the first in a trilogy of epic fantasy books. The following both, it has a tavern setting, which is my favourite kind of like high fantasy setting. And the way the storyline works, we have two timelines. We've got one where Kavoth is in this tavern, he's telling his story to a stranger. And then we have the past where I think he's a bard or something like that. Like, as an much older man, he is very famous, and so he's telling his story. I think it's got a magical school. It's very, very well loved within the fantasy genre. It's like a big name, so I definitely want to see if I personally think it's a good time. I do know that this trilogy is incomplete. The third book is yet to be published. I think it's been like 15 years or 10 years or something since the second book was released, so we're not even sure whether we're going to get a third book. But either way, I'll try this first book out. I might hate it, and then I wouldn't even want to continue, but I do want to definitely give it a go, and it's about time that I did. Next up, The Power of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This book is over 800 pages. Let's see how long it is. Oh my gosh, I'm terrified. 804 pages. 804 pages of epic high fantasy. Essentially, this book is like a trilogy, but it was put in one standalone volume, so it is broken up into books, but you do consider it as one title, if that makes any sense. I feel like I didn't explain that very well. This was very, very popular when it was released. People love Samantha Shannon, and this was her kind of like big release, her big new project. Since then, there's been a prequel book that was released, which is similar in length. I've always been interested in this. I had so many good reviews. It's so long, it honestly terrifies me. And I feel like if I don't put it down on like an official TBR, then I'm never ever gonna get around to it, and that's such a shame, because this beautiful book I could potentially absolutely fall in love with, like so many other people have. It's just sitting on my shelf collecting dust. If I love this book, I'd love to read the prequel, and I would therefore love to own the prequel in hardcover, so it would match this edition of the original book. We'll see how this goes. I'm just going to take it slowly, take it one day at a time, and try and enjoy myself while I do so. Very similar kind of vibe. We have House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J Maas. This is the second book in the Crescent City series. I read book one. I read that in 2020. I really enjoyed that read. I gave it 4 stars, but I just took a very, very long time to get through it. It's 800 pages. I think this one's similar. Yeah, 801 pages. I just crawled through it basically. I don't think it was even like the length of the book. It was just like the story in general just had a slower pacing. And I've heard actually with this book that a lot of people struggle with the pacing of it, but then at the very end, there's some absolutely crazy plot twist or like a reveal. It makes people feel like the slog through the book to get to that point was worth it in the end. That is truly the thing that's motivated me to read this book. Also the fact that the third book is coming out in January 30th, I think it is. I have a greater kind of encouragement to pick this book up if I could see that other people are getting excited for book 3. I want to read this one in January. This is going to be my January focus alongside An Ember in the Ashes. Lastly, we have a bunch of classic books. These are all in order of length, so we're going to go from biggest book to smallest book. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 classics that I'd love to read in 2024. Karenina by Tolstoy. I know, I told you this was the year of big books, big classics. terrifying reads that we just need to take our time with and try to enjoy, like I said. This book is a whopping 963 pages long. Yikes. It's also a Russian classic that was written many years ago. It's a complete like cornerstone of literature, not just Russian literature but literature in general. My little brother read this book last year. I don't even remember. My thinking is if he can do it, I can do it, which is so not true because he's definitely more intelligent than me, but it should be in my blood, you know. He managed to do it, I should manage to do it, even if it takes me like 3 times as long as it did for him. I'm not sure when I'll pick this book up. It is definitely sitting here, and so I'm going to put like a little bit of pressure on myself to get to it. I had this thought like a little while ago that was like, there are so many classic books that I would love to get to, so many books in general that I'd love to get to, and I just feel like if I don't start reading them now, I don't even feel like this is just a fact, if I don't start reading them now, then I'm never ever going to be able to get through all of them, especially if I plan on like rereading some of these across the years. I have a lovely edition of this. It's very visually beautiful obviously, but also it's very readable. The font is big, it's well spaced. I think if I was going to read it in any edition, this is the one to do it. I could get so much out of this read. I think it could be so well loved by me, so it's on the TBR. It's on the TBR, everybody. This book is a breeze compared to that. Dracula by Bram Stoker. Just over 400 pages. I'm going to be just fine. The other thing is that I will obviously hope to read this, as you can imagine, in October or November time. I should have already read Karenina by then, therefore I would just think this is a breeze. Dracula, I haven't read it yet basically, and I bought it this year, didn't have time to get around to it, so I'm very excited to finally pick it up, see what's so great. Love vampires. I should read the kind of like original book or the most famous book that depicts them. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel, Garcia, Marquez. Much shorter in length than some of the other books I mentioned, also around 400 pages, but extremely intimidating. This is a modern classic. Looks really readable. Don't get it twisted though, don't let it fool you, it's definitely not. This is a family saga. It's a book of magical realism. I'm not entirely sure what makes it so difficult to read. I think it could be to do with the amount of characters, the amount of kind of like intersecting storylines we follow across many years, across these 100 years, I'm assuming. I have a video that I want to film for this. You'll definitely get a vlog if I actually manage to get around to this in 2024. So you'll see how I go, how I get through this book. Maybe it'll be much easier than I think. I'm really not sure. But I want to read it and I want to love it. So we'll see how that whole process goes. Okay, last 3 books. Much more manageable classics, all modern ones. We've got The Beautiful and the Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I've read a lot of Fitzgerald's books, but I'm yet to read this one, and this is one of his most famous ones, and also another one I want to read for a video because, actually I don't know whether you'd be able to tell this already, but several of these books are different celebrities' favourite books, and I filmed a video this year where I read Bonjour Tristesse by Francois Sagan, which was Louis Vinay's favourite book. I want to keep that series going, and so a famous person, one who will not be named, loved this book. It's their favourite, so I shall be reading it for that video, having a good time of it as I do it, I hope. If I've got on well with his previous books I've read by Fitzgerald, then I should survive this read. Okay, my first Clarice Lispector, News the Wild Heart. I was told by a lovely commenter, a lovely viewer, that I should start here. Again, I think this is a piece of magical realism. It's very kind of internal, introspective. I love classic literary fiction that kind of touches on that. I'm not sure whether you'd actually call this a classic now I've placed it here, but either way, do want to read this book because I own 3 of Lispector's works and I'm yet to read any of them, so I think it's about time we got that ball rolling and picked up the first one. And then lastly, a breath of fresh air honestly compared to some of the books that I listed in this video, A Certain Smile by Francois Sagan. Like I said, I read Bonjour Tristesse. This book is actually a bind up of the 2 stories. A Certain Smile is also 100 pages. With these bind up books, that's very easy to like read one of the titles within it and then to just put it back on my shelves and forget to revisit this bind up and therefore like neglect the other story within it. So I definitely don't want to do that. I love Bonjour Tristesse. I'm very excited to read more by Sagan. Seeing as I own the story, I may as well read it. I think it's about an affair, but her writing was so beautiful, such a talent, and I had the best time basically. So there you have it. There are the 15 books that I want to attempt to get to in 2024. I know this is very ambitious. It's not many books, but there are a lot of pages, a lot of words within these books, and there's some like more complex, more sophisticated reads. We do have those like kind of lighter contemporary work, some shorter classics I should get on very well with. Variety of genres. I do obviously want to read more than these 15, and as you can see I've got a stacked TBR, so I definitely should be getting to more than that. I'd be quite happy if I just managed to tick off every single one of these. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, let me know that you did, and I'll see you in a couple of days for another one. By the way, I hope you had a very happy Christmas if you celebrate, happy holidays. This is my first video post Christmas Day, so make sure to subscribe if you want to stick around and see me reading these books. Like I said, I'm vlogging a good portion of them for sure, as in like individual one book focused reading vlogs, and so I'm very excited for those kind of extensive video ideas planned for 2024. So stick around if you would like to see any of that content and more that will be unnamed in this video. Also, a video will be coming with my best books of 2023, as well as my big massive video where I go through every single book and I kind of give like mini one-line reviews for each of them. I love this content, it's so good. Any video content, I check my subscription box every single day and I'm just like, where is the end of the year content. Anyways, we've been here a long time, so I'm gonna leave you in peace. Bye bye.